No, no, no.
Patrick Voss is
Okay.
an arrogant as the day is long blowhard on Clubhouse.
Yeah, I had a
Who,
conversation with him a few months ago,
yeah,
and
he's a
he was
train.
telling me,
Yeah,
yeah, and
go
he was telling me his view on a lot of things, and basically I just kept questioning him to the point where he was saying that the only thing that exists is his brain, and that all reality depended upon his brain. But then I pointed out to him that he doesn't live that way. He doesn't live that way at all. Like he's in control of the
Yeah, he's
matrix
pull.
or something like.
Yeah. What he's trying to pull is a kind of quasi solipsism. Okay. Now here's the problem like that, because well, reality, to quote, doesn't depend on his brain, because if it did, he would be God, wouldn't he? But he doesn't believe in God.
Is he still claiming that? Because in that conversation at the end of it, he finally admitted that he was self-deceiving. He was being self-deceived about that.
Uh,
Those were his words.
well,
But maybe he
I've
returned to it. I don't know.
yeah, I've publicly criticized Patrick Voss as a blowhard. Okay, and he hates my guts with a passion, and said he's not afraid of me and he'll debate me, but he won't do it where I have mods. Okay, he'll only do it in a neutral platform where I can't quote unquote behave badly. Well, interestingly enough, Patrick Voss hosts Ask an Atheist on Clubhouse on a weekly basis, and I show up. And even when there's nobody on stage, he generally will not have me up there. Now he invited me the other day, but then he wouldn't allow me to interact, and then he kicked me back to the audience. Which the funny thing is, if he's not afraid of dialoguing and debating with me, especially when he has full mod controls, why did he remove me from the stage after I was only there for about a minute or two? And the whole time he wouldn't let me talk. Look, these atheists are full of crap.
Well,
Go ahead.
no, I was saying
You're
something
roboting.
that
You're
is
roboting.
have given you
You're roboting.
me up.
Yeah, you're roboting, dude. Got to get a better
Me
connection.
up.
By the way, if we have any, but yeah, put your
It,
hand down, Rex. Okay. If anybody else is an atheist or an unbeliever, doesn't believe in God or the God of Christianity, you want to come up and speak, raise your hand.
By the way, I wanted to make I asked a dozen of the atheist thugs in the Yank Strike gang a couple days ago.
Who?
No God. I asked about half a dozen of them, the atheist thugs, the Yank Strike gang.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
asked about half a dozen of them, and none of them could answer the question. None of them. I have a recording
No,
of them.
no, no, they can't.
None of them could legitimately answer the question. So, yeah. All you
No,
have to do is ask a point-blank question. There is no question of floundering.
is he roboting for you guys? He's roboting for me.
Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yeah, it's better.
I have to change my devices then.
It's better now. No, this
Okay.
is why they don't like me, because
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not fooled. I'm not bamboozled by their semantical gymnastics or their their nomenclature dropping.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Would you say like you're a materialist or no?
Am I a materialist? No. I believe in God.
Well, I mean, do you agree with what George Berkeley says or no?
Why don't you tell me what George Berkeley says?
You don't know?
All right, you're gonna play this game. Bye bye. Hit the road. Okay, here we go. See,
can you hear me?
I would encourage. Yeah, I can. Jay, I would encourage you Not that I want you to be impatient, but nor should we put up with foolishness like what we just saw. Okay. Once it becomes
Yeah.
clear that they're just trolling, then just get rid of them. I'm not saying to get rid of people
I'm
because
gonna
they
reconnect on a different
disagree.
device. Give me just 1 second.
Yeah,
Darth, am I clear yet?
yeah, you're clear right now.
You're good now. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I was saying was, I think it says something about you and your, apologetical method when you have so many atheists that really despise you and make videos of you all the time. It almost seems like you're the nemesis of
Well,
atheists.
the reason why a good number of them are putting my name in the titles of their YouTube stream, it's simply for views. I've actually heard atheists talk about this, right? That they're doing it to increase views and to increase subscriptions because people do searches on the name Darth Dawkins. And by the way, if anyone does do a search on that, don't believe all of the rumor crap that they say about my personal life because it's not true.
Do you have your own YouTube channel that you control and you put the videos you want to up?
Um, I do not have any YouTube channels where I upload content. I have a couple of YouTube accounts or Google accounts, right? But I don't upload content now.
Well, I know you might not want to make the time to do it, but I think it might be a good idea to have a channel called The Real Darth Dawkins where you get to put up what you want to put up.
Oh, one of these days, I'm just busy in my personal life, you know, and I appreciate that, and maybe I'll do that sometime in the near future. But you know what? They
Retirement.
don't they don't like me because I cut through all the bull crap. I expose all the fakes, the phonies, and the frauds. You know, it's not because I'm holier than thou. I'm not any more righteous than they are when we stand before God. But I'm not so foolish as to deny the obvious that God exists. Now they want to claim, well, it's not obvious that God exists. Good, then make a defense of that claim. And no, I'm not shifting the burden of proof.
Do you
I mean,
ever,
let me just say one thing. When you hear the stupid crap that comes out of their mouths that exemplifies their unbelief, including the PhD atheists, it blows me away. It blows me away. And how stupid. Just 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 Google my encounter with, well, you did Lawrence Krauss, PZ Myers, Stephen Law, who's a PhD. Not that I'm smarter than these people. I'm not smarter than them. But what I do have an advantage over them is that I have accepted some of the wisdom that God has revealed, and then I devise questions based upon what God has revealed, which they are as helpless as a quadriplegic kitten, excuse me. They're as helpless as a quadriplegic kitten in responding back to it. So that's why they have to resort to lying and being deceptive and evasive. They have no rational justification or evidentiary support to deny the existence of God, whether that denial is implicit or explicit, direct or indirect.
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Do you ever, have rooms where you're just on stage with other Christians and you talk about, theological positions and kind of bounce things back and forth? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, like yesterday, I was in a room full of Christians and I was telling them to watch out for the Chihuahua goggles cult. You want to stay away from that group.
Was that a joke or are you serious? Because it
Yeah,
sounded like you said,
there's a cult out there of people who put goggles on Chihuahuas.
oh, I got you because Matt's down there.
I mean, that's a weird kind of thing to do, to put goggles on a chihuahua. I mean, sunglasses maybe, but goggles? Come on,
But
man. Come on, man. Remember who said that?
yeah, the reason why
What?
I asked that is because I would be curious to know, how you interpret, a lot of different places in scripture, but that's just me.
Well, I'm on a regular basis, so you can do something dangerous and ask my opinion, but just make sure that your eyes are going to glaze over sooner or later. Anyway, I'm gonna go off mic for a little bit.
Well, good talking to you, man.
Well, the room's open yet again. So, any atheists in the audience who believes they're rational, you can defend the falsity of God. You're more than welcome to do so. All right. Zfar, you're invited on stage. Zfar, if you're gonna put your hand up and you're invited on stage, and it's expected that you are going to raise your, or you're gonna come onto stage. Otherwise, do not raise your hand. That's just gonna be a rule for the room. If you're gonna raise your hand and if we send an invite to you, you have to join the stage. Otherwise, you're wasting our time. So I just sent you another invite, Zfar. Come and join the stage. All right, Ten Polton, come on stage.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Good evening. So, are you
Cool.
an atheist?
No, no.
Oh, so you're a theist?
Yeah.
Okay, what God do you believe in?
Well, the God of the Bible reveals itself. Um, well, I mean, the God in general reveals Himself through the Bible, right?
Are you the God? Are you what God do you believe in? I want to make sure I get an answer to that question.
I believe the God in the Bible.
You're a Christian?
Yeah, I'm a Christian. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just trying to
What was the
understand.
question?
Oh, the question is the uh, argument that's being made is that God reveals Himself through the Bible.
Yeah, as long as throughout all of creation as well.
Right. So, but that's the only way that we have a way of saying that it is a Christian God is by saying that.
The only way we can know God exists is in virtue of his revelation. That's the only way we can know that God exists.
Is the relationship that we have.
I said this through God's revelation.
Oh, revelation. What does that mean?
That God communicates things about himself, his attributes in the world, to us. That's the only way we can know that God exists. Outside of God's revelation, there's no way for us to know that he exists. Did you have a question that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, like because I appreciate the arguments. It's just I'm trying to understand how it affirms that it's a Christian God though, because it sounds like it just affirms that there is God.
I'm not understanding your question.
But the question is, how does it make it specifically a Christian God and not just God in general,
Because
a God?
the God of the Bible has revealed specific things about himself that are exclusive to himself, meaning that no other worldview is going to have that as being posited. No other
Right.
worldview has God, an ultimate God, that's required for intelligibility, knowledge, rationality, etc. The Christian worldview is
Yeah,
the
just a
only
sound.
worldview that has it.
Yeah, I see that as an that, and I like it. It's just it doesn't limit it to being the only possibility. It just says that our evidence is how God reveals Himself based
Okay, look,
on.
unless you accept God's revelation, the Christian God's revelation, who God claims himself to be, what God says about himself, then you won't have a basis, okay, by which you can assert truth, assert facts, assert possibilities and impossibilities meaningfully. The atheist, for example, doesn't have a worldview to assert, not one that is coherent, not one that grounds the things that they believe exist. They believe that, for example, the regularities that we see in nature are real. They believe that there is real correlativity in the world, that there is real possibilities and impossibilities, but they don't accept the revelation of the Christian God as that which is ultimate, that which puts, or that which is the source of all these things, that which all these things depend upon. And consequently, because they reject God, who he claims himself to be, they don't have a basis by which they can assert that these things are the case. So when they operate in the world as though they are the case, as though they are real, you ask them, how are they real? Why are they real? Well, if they can't answer that question, then on what basis can they say that they are real? Well, they have none. Okay, it's only through the Christian God,
Yeah, I
only through
get that,
the
but that's an argument.
revelation. What do you say?
Yeah, I get that, but no, I understand that, but that's an argument for God, but that's not an argument for a Christian God.
No, it is. It is the argument for the Christian God because we're talking about the God of the Bible, the God who is revelatory, God who is always truth revealing. He's a mind. He's ultimate. Okay, he's omniscient. He's omnipotent. God is relational. These are all qualities that are exclusive to the Christian God. No other God
Yeah, I get,
has
I,
these properties. Once
but
the
God
God we're
has re-
talking about, once the God we're talking about has these properties, and we're talking about the Christian God. That's what we're talking about because they have the
I
same properties.
yeah, right. So God has revealed Himself in multiple ways. That's not restricted to the Bible. I mean, that's just one concept, right? I mean, because we start off with the idea of first cause, the first move. Like that is not, you know, that's not restricted to the Bible. That's physics. It's metaphysics. So that's outside of the Bible.
Yeah, this you're not understanding what I'm telling you. What we're talking about here at the Christian worldview, okay, is we're talking about a being that is ultimate, that is foundational to all of reality, the source and basis of what and why anything is. And aside from that, okay, aside from God and his properties, that he is um that which is foundational, as I said earlier, that which is eternal, right? God is omniscient. God is omnipotent. God is revelatory and relational, and always truth revealing. These are all properties exclusive to the Christian God. They're essential properties. If you incorporate these properties, and all of them really, to the God you believe in, then you're talking about the God of the Bible, the God who's revealed himself in Scripture. Then any deviation from that, any deviation from what you what has been revealed about God, it would have no basis outside of the Bible. It has no basis outside of who God revealed himself to be.
Yeah, can I add something, Jay? Tenpo is just trying to help like unbelievers when they come to him. Um, these questions they have. So Jay is just helping uh Tenpo to help the unbelievers. Yeah, you can't think like the unbelievers. You basically have to think like um like as a Christian, you know. Yeah. So there's other gods, but the gods are lacking in in some areas. With the Christian God, there's nothing lacking. So that's the difference, you know. So um,
Right. The
it's
other
better.
the other worldviews are deficient in the properties that are required for intelligibility. Right? Islam is lacking in that. The cults of Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormonism are lacking in that. Right? Which is how you can know that they're false, transcendentally speaking, because they do not provide a basis and a grounding for intelligibility or rationality or knowledge or anything of the sort. If they did, they'd have the qualities of the Christian God, which would then make it the Christian God, essentially.
Yeah, and I want to add to what Jay say to help Tenpo to help explain to unbelievers is like um he's all powerful, he's the creator of all things. So if so basically that's the difference. So if see if I let's see how you say again it goes back to deficient. If there's some deficiency with other gods, then they're not all powerful. Uh, they're not the creator of all things. So you say that to the unbelievers and say, uh, um, what's the question again? You work your way down to the specifics, and uh, we of course not exhaustively. We just uh, don't know everything exhaustively, or we're not everywhere uh, at all times and everything. So you just give them the answer, and that's the difference between the Christian God and other gods. So
My computer science professor was saying that this all is just a simulation, and that actually fits into the first cause, while still giving room for a Christian God. That the everything in the world right now, every every piece of grass is one off. Every piece of sand is one off. Every snowflake is one off,
well,
and
well, yeah. At
and
some point, what
that's
he
how
did,
everything in science works in computer programming. So so it still leaves room for a Christian God, but inside this idea of a that we're like in the matrix.
That's incoherent. Okay, because there's
yeah,
still the question
you gotta,
still needs to be answered as to what is it that's foundational, okay,
yeah,
to
you
all
have
of
to tell the
reality.
science, yeah, you have to tell that science, whatever you always you have to think like a Christian. You cannot think like an unbeliever. You can't think like oh I can have God and not God. You can't think like you have to be very persistent and not um how do you say you can not surrender your view your Christian view like defending the faith. You have to be very uh you don't want to be confrontational, but when it comes to defend your faith, you have to be vigorously defending that faith. You can't let unbelieving thoughts and be like, oh, like, it could be this and that. No, it's like, so as Christians, you have to, hey, Darth, you have
Yeah,
to help,
I
yeah,
get that.
scriptures. Yeah, even scripture says all
Right.
thoughts. Yeah, I forgot what's the scripture verse, but yeah,
Yeah, because the idea from his simulation is that the consistency is the program. that creates this environment, and then that's what keeps everything grounded into one truth, which is kind of an ultimate one God, but it creates the details to be something that is on a quantum level, and on a quantum level, it becomes things overlapping and all can exist at the same time. I mean, that's how quantum science works in the moment. You know, it's protons can be all the
Hey, dude, stop with the quantum science crap. There's 12 different schools of quantum mechanics. Okay? We're still in our infancy of understanding the quantum realm. Stop talking about as though we've had hundreds of years of research and study and we have a grasp on it. Okay?
Yeah, I tried telling him though to not think like unbelievers or something
Yeah.
like
In
that.
the Christian worldview, any idea of a simulation is inconsistent and incompatible with the Christian worldview.
You have to think
Yeah,
like a
I don't know if you
Christian
heard the
can.
part that I was saying. My computer science teacher was saying that everything could possibly just be a simulation, like we're in a matrix,
Oh, good.
and that
Okay,
would be
good.
the
Okay,
first
yeah.
cause,
Well, yes. Guess
and
what?
then the first
Yeah, when
cause
your
still
teacher
leaves room
says
for.
that, okay, are you a Christian?
Yeah,
Okay, I want you to say to your, when are you going to see your computer science teacher next?
next week.
Okay, good. When he says it could be this or could be that, ask him the following question I'm going to give you, okay? And word it exactly like I'm giving it to him, okay? When he
Write it
says,
down.
well, it's possible this or possible that, ask him, what is it that is fundamental, foundational, and ultimate that dictates what is, can be, and cannot be, that makes anything
Well,
possible or impossible?
yeah, that's gonna be the program.
No,
That's the code.
you're not understanding, okay? What is it that is fundamental to everything? What is ultimate, from which all things derive and depend, that dictates what is, can be, and cannot be? In other words, what is it that dictates what's possible and impossible? So when he says, well, it's possible, so is he that all he's simply engaging in is just fantasy, right? Right? What if he came along to you and says, well, you know what? It's possible on a galaxy far, far away, there's really a guy by the name of Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. Okay? That's the equivalent of what he's saying that we're in a matrix. He's engaging in the same kind of fantasy. All right, I'll be right back.
I mean, because right now, I mean, it kind of makes sense that everything is one off. You know, it's like someone made sure like even twins are different. They're all one off, and like everything can be cataloged in a database. And that's,
You're not getting this. When you reason, you're going to reason in accords with and consistently with the Christian worldview. The Christian worldview makes it very clear. There is God, and then there is the created world. The sun, the moon, and the stars are real, and they operate with regularity due to God's purpose and plan. They are not a simulation. They are not merely or simply or possibly illusory. The Bible makes it very clear they're real. Okay? So when your teacher says, well, it could be this, well, when he rejects the Christian worldview as what is determinative of what is and what can be and cannot be, then you could say, well, anything could be, right?
right, right, yeah,
Okay. So basically, what he's
yeah,
doing is
that's true.
he's operating from an atheistic stance without coming clean to everybody in the room that he is. On what grounds is it possible? Okay. Is that
Well, he said
is
it's
what
possible because the he said a Christian God could exist within that simulation.
no, okay, this guy is completely ignorant. He doesn't know what he's talking about because the Christian God does not exist within anything that is concrete. Okay? The Christian God is not encapsulated by anything. He is not encompassed by anything. He simply exists on his own. All right? And everything else is encapsulated by God's creator status. Okay, I'm not saying we are part of God as in pantheism, but when that guy makes that statement, he's speaking out of complete ignorance when it comes to a biblical and a Christian worldview.
Yeah, and I want to add to what Darth said. That's why I say creator of all things, not like he's like part of the creation where there's somebody that's creator of all things, including like if God is part of the creation, like a set.
The
Uh,
Bible speaks
yeah,
of
yeah,
the Bible speaks of the multitudinous things that God has created as real and not as illusory. Okay? Your teacher does not know what he's talking about when it comes to Christianity.
yeah. Because I want to add to what Darth said. It's like your professor. It seems like he's just making the Christian God as part of the creation, where God, like in the Christian worldview, is the creator of all things, like even His creation, everything in creation. So yeah, you have to tell your teacher that, because
So you have to understand, in the Christian worldview, God is that which is ultimate.
yep.
God doesn't derive or depend, is encapsulated by or encompassed by anything, whereas everything else is surrounded by, if you will, controlled and the product of and dependent upon the mind of God. Okay? So when he says that the Christian worldview can be encompassed within a simulation, this is a contradiction in terms. He's just simply not he doesn't understand the contradiction, right? You see, from a non-believer's point of view,
I think I remember one time he was saying that.
go ahead.
No, because he started talking about how nothing in the universe is one thing. Like there is no one standard for anything in the universe.
How does he know that? How does he know anything about what is? Where do you get that from?
Right.
Okay, where do you get that from?
I don't know.
It's a good thing I'm not. It's a good thing I'm not sitting in his classroom, because he would be royally embarrassed, or he would end up kicking me out. By the way, when we pose questions, listen carefully. When we pose questions, which are the product of God's revelation and self-disclosure, the unbeliever has nowhere to go except to lie, to obfuscate, to prevaricate, or just lie and make things up. Okay?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
Yep.
ask yourself a question. Ask your teacher a question. Okay. Say, do you accept that everything that exists derives and depends upon the mind, sovereignty, and providence of God? Is that your most fundamental parameter from which all other possibilities derive and depend? Are you operating from that principle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
and if
yeah,
you say,
that's what he
go ahead.
He calls that the code. He said that's
okay.
the code. That's the program.
Okay. He doesn't know. He's an idiot.
Yeah, watch him squirm out of it.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, computer science has that type of ideals as well as having this one ultimate thing. The program cannot be shifted from it. It's what dictates everything that comes from and comes after is how the code is written, and there's no way to deviate from that. Which he alludes that is how the idea of God exists, is this idea of this one ultimate thing that's the code. I mean, honestly, he sounds like a Christian every time he talks like that until he starts saying that this is a simulation, and that really just kind of like bothers me. It's weird how those things, kind of correlate.
If he says it's a simulation, he's being inconsistent with the Christian worldview. He has a perverted and an unbiblical concept of the Christian worldview.
Yeah, because the only thing that I'm left with is to try to reference the Bible, and then he says that that's not an evidentiary thing, and if we're going to create evidence, nature has evidence of God as well.
That's just
Here's the
sophistry.
deal. He's summarily dismissed the Bible as
Wow.
telling us what the ultimate nature of reality is. Okay, so now the question is, now when he's dismissive of the Bible, then what does he appeal to as his most fundamental parameter? He's got nothing other than make believe.
Yeah, that's a question for him. I can't answer that. I don't know. I need to ask him what he thinks of that. But I guess he's just gonna go back to saying that it's a simulation, and therefore, so yeah, I don't know. It's just how do we capture the qualities and properties of God without referencing the Bible?
If he wants to reject the biblical worldview, that's his choice. But he's not going to escape the implications and ramifications that follow from that. Okay? So you see, once you reject the Christian worldview, which represents a closed system, he's now adopting an open system. So he can't say anything with certitude. Okay?
Hey, Darth, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts, man. It's always great to
Bring your professor onto Clubhouse. I'd love to talk with him.
yeah, that would be great. I doubt it, but that would be awesome. All right.
He may listen. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. He may be a really smart guy about computer science. Okay, I'm sure he is. I'm sure I could learn a lot about computer science.
Same here.
But when he oversteps his bounds of his knowledge base, he's just telling you what his fantasies are, because that's all they are. Oh, well, we could be in a simulation. Well, that's a nice fantasy you say. And you know what? Darth Vader could be your father, right? Right?
I mean,
if we're going to engage in could be, okay, right? Darth Vader's your father. You just don't know it. Just like Luke Skywalker in the movie Star Wars didn't know it. But you don't know, Professor, computer science, you don't know that your father's Luke Skywalker because he didn't tell you yet. And in fact, you don't even know that he exists yet, right? Because it could be Darth Vader could be your father, right? This is the same crap that he's saying. Oh, we could be in a simulation.
I mean, I don't. I mean, just towards only because I'm a computer science major. We're moving towards that, right? I mean, the metaverse wants to be that. I mean, the whole idea is to create the most realistic world within the metaverse. I mean, that's where we're going. I mean, it's like the whole blockchain technology is based on having only exact things into a decentralized idea.
How does he know? Just ask him this.
We might not have that technology at the moment.
Since he rejects the Christian worldview, since he rejects the Bible, he made that clear. Then what is it that is the most fundamental thing which dictates everything that is, can be, and cannot be? Okay, remember that. Since he rejects the Christian worldview, the Christian God, then just simply ask him, what is it that is ultimate, that is foundational, fundamental, that dictates and sustains why anything is, can be, or cannot be? What is that? He will either affirm
that's the code.
No, you're not understanding the code.
That's the code that was written by a creator.
You're not understanding. Then it wouldn't be fun. Then it would. You're not listening. You're not listening. Okay. Do you understand? Ultimate means ultimate. It means non-derivative, non-dependent, non-derivational. When he dismisses the biblical Christian worldview, then he's going to have to tell us what is it that is fundamental that all derivational and dependent states, contingent states, derive from. If he says it's the code, then is the code eternal? Is it without beginning? Is the code a mind?
No, it comes from a creator.
Then the code is not fundamental. Then the code is not ultimate.
Well, once it's run, it is.
No, okay, you're not understanding this.
Once it's running,
you're not listening. Okay. something is ultimate if and only if it's unconditionally non-dependent, non-derivational, and everything else depends upon it. Okay? Now, in Scripture, it says, Jesus Christ upholds all things by the power of his word. Nothing is standalone. Anything that exists by the word and the power of God through Jesus Christ. Now, when he's saying that there's this universal code, where do you get that universal from? Where do you get that from? It's his vivid. He's saying, it could be. And to say, good, and Darth Vader could be real. It could be your father, right?
Yeah, like adding to what Darth said, he's not saying what could be. He's asking what's how do you weigh the Darth? I'm losing it. Um, oh my
Well,
God.
if I tell you there could be a deer in my backyard, it's because of the constructs of the world around me. But how does he know what fundamentally directs what the constructs of the world are? Right? The guy. Look, I'm not trying to throw the guy into the bus. He may be a real smart computer science teacher, but when it comes to metaphysics, he fails miserably.
Yeah, just say what is everything? What is the source of? Where does this? Oh man, I'm bad at wording. Oh my God. But Darth could help me out here. It's what is? Oh my God.
Well, guys, I appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts. I'm gonna
Nah, just trying to help you,
take back,
tenfold because
and then hopefully I find a time
I just
to
get
approach my
indignant.
professor.
I just get indignant with people like that who, rather than stick to the curriculum, he's going off on his grandiose metaphysical claims, and he's misrepresenting biblical Christianity.
man, I just lost my memory. Just I was gonna tell you something, tenfold. You just have to stick to those. You have to challenge them. Stay on topic. Stick to the question. Don't let them evade, dodge, prevaricate, do all those stuff. And then, because they're gonna have to be held accountable and say, "Oh, just it doesn't come from God." And then like you just say, "Well, where does it come from?" Or like, So
Okay, come on up, Kim.
Um, the room is once again open. Any atheist who wants to defend their worldview is more than welcome to raise your hand, and we will examine whether or not atheism is rational. Rex, put your hand down. You had your chance. Hbo, you're invited on stage. You can come on, accept the invitation.
Hey Jrobin, I seen you I think maybe a few days ago you were in a room. I think it was at 12ish a.m. I was like, what's going on? And I saw, like, Danny and Jeff and those people like what happened,
I'm I'm not I don't know what you're talking about. Which you said 12 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, yeah. I just saw it and I was
Danny
like,
Danny
yeah,
who?
believer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I just um because the act Jack Angstrike, crowd, just you know,
Oh, that yeah. Yeah, that was a few days ago. They were
yeah,
completely exposed. Completely. I asked
yeah,
about half a dozen of them. I think maybe 6, 7, maybe 8 of them to
mm,
defend the non-existence of God, and they couldn't.
yeah. I was always trying to figure out, wondering what is Jack Angstrike uh tactic, because usually they learn from Jack. It seems like, what I understand, it's like they learn it and then they repeat the same thing, and then I'm trying to figure out
Right.
what is the tactics, because sometimes they play this mental game with you, and I'm like, they're playing this mental game. What are they trying to do? And I just don't get what they're doing. And
Exactly.
yeah, they say real propositions. They say some. They just play this mental game, and I'm like, I was watching a debate with Darth and Danny. I was like, what is he? It's
Wait, who's
just
Danny though? Which Danny are you talking about?
Danny Phil Talk or something. He has a YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Yes, yeah. He was on there as well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's kind of like you hang around with of people that think like unbelievers, how they think, and then you you think like them, and just you poison the well. It's like bad. The scriptures, like, bad companies corrupt like good morals and stuff, and then it's like they think
Yeah,
like
well,
that. That's what I'm
they're
trying
not
to.
worthwhile. They're not worthwhile uses of time to talk to. So
Yeah, I
the
just
only time I'm willing to speak to them, I'm only willing to engage with them when they can answer the question that has been uh, asked them for years, which is that how is it the
wow,
case that there's no God?
that's
Right?
way
Unless
too
they answer
long.
that question, unless they answer that question, I'm not really particularly interested in engaging their
Yeah,
sophistry.
yeah, like J. Robin, it's like I just want to figure out the tactics, because I don't want to be uh deceived or tricked into their mental game. Like, I don't want it to be done to me and be like, what just happened, and then like, oh, like, I don't want it to be done to me how they do it to others, and where they like they got them, but with me and you, I don't want it to happen where, like, I don't know what's going on, and they're doing some
Yeah,
kind of.
you don't need to talk to them. They're not that you don't need to. I mean, yeah, you don't worry about. You don't even need to talk to them. They're not worthwhile. They're just engaged in sophistry, and they'll do anything to try to pull a fast one on you. And you just have to. Yeah, they're not serious people to talk to. They're not worthwhile. You're not missing out on anything by not talking to them. So,
All right. Yeah, I
but the
don't
room
want
is still
to.
open. We're looking for rational atheists who can defend their position. Um, and it doesn't look like we have any. You know, a few nights ago, I believe it was that same night, I had started a timer on my phone to see when an atheist could rationally defend their position, and it's still going to this day. All right. So I'm waiting for atheists who can defend their position. I'm waiting for atheists who can coherently, rationally, honestly, and clearly just defend the non-existence of God. Right? This is supposed to be the pinnacle, the height of rationality. Atheists are supposed to represent the upper echelon of rational thought. And what do we get from them every single day? Nothing but dishonesty when it comes to them defending their position. And the reason why they're dishonest when it comes to their position is because they can't defend their position, obviously. Right? If you can't defend your position logically, rationally, and coherently, well, then the only other response for you to do is just to engage in dishonesty, right? Because you would not rather admit that you can't defend your position. You don't want to admit that you are holding to a bankrupt worldview. That's not something that you are interested in doing at all as an atheist, which is why the challenge has been made and it will still be outstanding for as long as I am on here, because atheists cannot and will not coherently and rationally defend their position. But if you believe you can, the room is open. Okay, if you believe you can, there is an opportunity for you to raise your hand right now, raise your hand right here while I'm here, while the other people on stage, Theo, Matt, Derek, are here, and you have the opportunity to defend your position. Okay, under scrutiny, of course, but you have the opportunity to do so. If you're the upper echelon of rational thought, this should be easy for you. This should be a cakewalk. But we don't see anything of the sort. We don't see anything of the sort with non-evasive, non-trolling atheists, because they can't handle the truth. They can't handle it. But again, if you believe you can, if you believe that's a possibility, if you believe that is within your capabilities to defend atheism, you have free license right now to raise your hand and come on stage. I'll be more than happy to bring you up and chat with you.
I guess uh, two thoughts about the simulation thing. So one thought is that God's revelation is sufficient, that he operates in a revelational capacity. So he reveals to you that the apple on the table is real, and like if you or I say otherwise, then we are suppressing the truth and unrighteousness. We're lying. So like if I walked into your house and I grabbed an apple off your table, and uh or let's say I grabbed your wallet and I was walking out and you're like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. This is just a simulated wallet. It's not real. It's just a simulation. Uh, I would be lying to you, and I would be lying to myself, and I would know that I would be lying because God revealed it to me, and God revealed it to you, and God's revelation is certain. It's not like God reveals something to you, and then you're like, I don't know, like I'm uncertain. Um, so like you know that you are a biological man, right? If you're a biological man, you know you're a biological woman. If you're a biological woman, um, and that is revelatory from God. Like God revealed that to you, and you can't be wrong about what God reveals to you, right? It's certain. You stand upon that. Um, and then I guess the second thought about the whole simulation thing is that okay, he says that we're in a simulation, but then how does he know? Like, well, how could he like what like how is he seeing outside of the simulation? How is he seeing outside of it? What is his access to the actual state of affairs? Um, so I guess I was kind of thinking about that. But but yeah, overall, God's revelation is sufficient, right? He reveals truth to you, and then we cannot be wrong about what God has revealed to us. If we claim otherwise, then we're simply suppressing the truth and unrighteousness. Uh, so we need to have access to the actual state of affairs, and God grants us like this access, right, through His revelation.
Yep.
But yeah, if anyone wants to come up or ask
Mm.
questions or feel free.
Yeah, there's one thing I was thinking and learning is because Rene Descartes, it Rene Descartes was like, uh, everything, could be deceiving me, like everything, for all we know, we could be like hooked up to a supercomputer and it's all like, deceiving me, everything. I know I exist because, it's like, uh, my mind, so my mind is like, okay, I exist. I know I exist because of my mind, um how would I say, but there was no, how do I say, if it's just based on mind, then you could just say, I don't exist because, my mind, okay, I say I don't exist, okay, then my mind says I don't exist, and then so therefore I don't exist. So, um how do I say, you have to have like a grounding where, on your ontology, where you know that you don't rely on your mind, that that you're not deceived, you know so because your mind could deceive you too, so unless, if you don't have a grounding that grounds, that you're not being deceived, uh no matter the situation you're in, um then, um that's how you could know, because you need a foundation. It's And this is more philosophical, um more philosophical, um uh thinking. um I'm just not more in depth about it, um because there's way other philosophers, uh more um more knowledgeable than me, so I'm trying my best to understand. So yeah.
Yeah, sir.
Jay left.
How's it going, Daniel? Do you have a question?
Hey, what's up, Theo? How are you? What's up, Derek?
Yes.
I'm doing pretty well, doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. A little bit under the weather, but other than that, I'm pretty good. Just like spending the day, like relaxing, just resting a bit. But I did have a question about. It's more of like a scriptural question. So I've been having some discussions with um, Christians, and a lot of times scripture will come up. So they'll quote scripture, and then we'll talk about a specific thing within
Why are you on
scripture.
stage, Daniel?
What do you mean?
Why are you on stage?
To ask Theo a question about scripture?
Um, you're an atheist thug. I don't know if you realize that.
Yeah, you said that before. I don't
Okay, so
understand why I'm a thug.
why don't you defend your claim before you come on here asking questions? Then maybe if you can rationally and coherently defend your claim, then we can start entertaining other conversation. So there is no God because
Well, you made an accusation that I was a thug, and I'm not.
where there is you have 30 seconds starting now. There is no God because.
Okay. Define God.
All right, now it's 20 seconds.
You have to define it before we go.
All right,
What
you have
is God?
15 seconds left.
Hold on. You
If
have
you
to
if you want
define
to
what
if you want to
God
stay on
is.
the stage, I suggest you better get
All right. So
talking.
you define God as you define God as what? An ultimate mind.
All right, bye, Daniel. Thank you for your time. All right, yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
have to
not
ask
gonna
Jay.
entertain foolishness.
I have to ask Jay. Like, okay, when he said define God, you've told him this many times before, right? I just
Yeah, he's not like this. It's not even like worth time even like talking about him even after the conversation, right? Like a lot of times you'll give commentary after the conversation. It's like it's not even worth time or effort or energy talking about the conversation. So I think we just move on. Is there any atheist in the audience who can defend the falsity of God? Can we get a rational atheist? I mean, the title of the room is "When Will We Find a Rational Atheist?" So hopefully, the answer is sometime soon, and we're not just going to be waiting ad infinitum.
yeah, I get you. I get you. Yeah, because how do I say this? Try and be nice about it. If Jay has already defined God for you, don't play this game of oh define God. Like that just frustrates Jay, like me and Matt. It just don't play that. Like if it hasn't been defined, you know, the God we're talking about, um, okay, but if been defined so many times by Jrobin, Matt, Dio, and you play this, oh, define God, like you're not gonna put up with it. So um, yeah,
Do it,
trying to be
Ronald. You're
nice.
on stage. You're invited on stage. If you don't raise your hand, then you're not going to be able to come on. Okay, you raise your hand, you get an invite, then that means you come on stage. All right.
Yeah, we'll be glad to go over scripture, everything. Just don't play this game of just define God. If it's already been explained to you so many times, just stop it. Just stop it.
All right. Are there any other rational atheists in the audience? Anyone? Will we find a rational atheist today, finally, and put an end to this question? Or we're gonna have to start another room tomorrow waiting for rational atheists? It seems like the latter is going to be the case, unless we can find a rational atheist that can defend the non-existence of God. It's not looking like that's going to happen, though. Okay.
Well, I think what you call it, Do It Ronald was trying to join. So yeah, Do It Ronald, like on, yeah, I don't know what to press on. Press on like accept or something.
Yeah. There's a. Okay. Here we go. He's on here. Are you an atheist, Ronald? Ronald, are you an atheist?
Think so. Oh, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Uh, I mean, like, I don't believe that God exists.
Okay. There is no God because.
Well, so I also don't believe that God doesn't exist. Does that make me
Oh,
an
so
atheist?
okay. Yeah. Well, you're positing agnosticism or lack theism. That's not
Okay.
a claim that can be withheld. Okay, because the problem with that is that whenever you're invoking facts, whenever you predicate, whenever you're operating in the world, you're going to
Uh-huh.
be invoking those facts, and those facts are going to exist within a metaphysical context. That I'm saying they exist within some greater reality. The facts that you're invoking that's going to explain what it means for things to be facts. Okay, the nature of truth, the nature of possibility and impossibility, and relationships between facts. All of that is going to constitute a metaphysical framework, and it is
Uh-huh.
within that framework that you are going to be invoking facts if you're doing so meaningfully. Okay, and
Right.
that metaphysical framework is going to either be when you're invoking the facts that they depend
Uh-huh.
upon God, to be
And
invoked
upon.
as though they are within upon God.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Dichotomy.
think I cut you off. What were you saying?
I
Uh-oh.
said when you're invoking these facts with respect to this
Yep.
metaphysics, the fact are going to exist in your worldview either with dependence on God or without dependence on God. Those are the
Right.
only two options. There's no middle ground.
Right.
So which of the
So
two
facts.
is your worldview in?
Oh, so like that's the thing, right? Because I like I don't know, because like I could like I don't think I'm invoking God,
Ronald, I didn't
right?
ask you. I didn't ask you. I'm asking you right now what you're
Yeah.
okay.
Uh,
Either facts that you're asserting, of your facts is going to be either with reference or it's going to
right.
be reference to God with respect to your worldview. Okay, those are the
With respect to
only
what's
two
going.
options.
So like
Yeah, your metaphysic.
I guess
So which of the
like what's
two
the
are you
first?
doing here?
Oh, does that so like by worldview you're saying like my metaphysical worldview, right? Like like
Yeah, your
how?
metaphysical framework.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm trying to follow on here. This is all kind of new to me. Um, so I guess like I don't really, I don't think I've ever considered that, to be honest. Like I've never considered why a fact is a fact.
Well, then you're not invoking facts. If you're not speaking with respect to the nature of facts. Okay,
Uh,
your invocation of facts or invocation of truth is only meaningful if you have access to what it means for them to be true and what it means for them to be facts.
but so like,
If it's not the case that you have
huh?
access to that, then you're not
Yeah.
actually predicating.
So like, I guess do I have to be doing that? Because it seems like I don't know. I
Yes.
mean, like I'm only 30, but like so far when I go to work and I'm like, hey, you know, the machine's not working, and this is why it's not working. You know, everyone seems to
Okay,
understand that.
I'm gonna give
That
you
huh?
I'll give you an analogy,
All
okay?
right.
I'll give you an analogy. If I tell you that the apple's on the counter,
Yeah.
okay? Um, I'm predicating, I'm invoking a proposition, right, about the
Mhm.
apple and its location.
Mhm.
If you ask me what does apple mean, what is a counter, right? You're asking me what I'm referencing when I'm using those terms.
Yeah.
If I tell you I don't know, am I actually like meaningfully speaking about anything if I don't actually know what these terms are?
I mean, I don't think so, right? But
Right.
like, so
Exactly.
here's here's where like I guess there's like a shared thing between me and the people, right? So if I go tell
No, no, no,
somebody,
no, no. No, that's
huh?
not that's not so it's not whether or not there's a shared or some sort of one-way understanding is not really relevant here to the discussion because right now all I'm
Oh,
talking about is
uh huh,
if when I'm invoking the facts, I'm actually
uh huh,
making a true reference uh to the actual thing, right? If I'm actually referencing anything
right,
when I'm predicating. Whether or
yeah,
not somebody else may correlate
uh huh,
the utterances out of my mouth with some real things is
uh huh,
irrelevant, right? If I tell you
okay,
doodle bob, right? I could utter some nonsense like doodle bob, blue
right,
blue, right? Now,
uh huh,
I'm not actually referencing anything, right? I'm that like Doodle Bob, whatever, it doesn't actually mean anything, right? When I'm using it. Now, somebody else might think that that means something based on their own experience, but when I'm actually using the words, they're nonsense, right? They're gibberish, right? So the point is that if I'm not actually referencing anything, if I'm not in my mind making a reference to something when I'm invoking like words, then I'm not actually speaking meaningfully. I'm not actually predicating. It doesn't matter what other people think about what
So
I'm saying.
right. So does that mean that like this whole reference thing has to do with something like in your mind? Like when
Yes.
you say apple, like something is in your brain about the apple?
Yes.
Okay. So
Because that's
like
what it
when
means
I
to
say
predicate.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So that's okay, so in my head if I say the machine is broken and I'm thinking about the machine, right?
Hmm.
And then somewhere in there I'm referencing something else at the same time, right? That's what it means to reference God when I invoke the machine. Is like in my
Yeah,
head I have
exactly.
machine, and then there's also God in there somewhere. Okay, so I guess by
Yes.
that then I don't think I must not be I must be an atheist because when I think of a machine or if I think of an apple, there's like that's the only thing I'm thinking of is like a machine or an apple.
Right. So basically, what's happening is that you're referencing the facts with independence from God. You believe that they are either
Yeah,
standalone or they depend upon something
I
that's
mean,
other than God,
Yeah, it's
yeah, and I
which would
mean
natural.
then
like I
entail
guess
which would then entail that
that's a
there
way
is
to
no God.
say it. Which which what? I'm sorry,
I would just say
I
that
didn't hear
that
you.
would just that verbalization or that position would just entail that there is no God, right? Because if a fact exists with independence upon God, and God is defined as a being that all facts derive and depend upon, then there couldn't be
Right,
a fact that exists without God and God coexisting in that world, right? So
right.
it just entail logically that there's no God. And this
So
I'm actually impressed. Out of all the people that we've talked to today and in a very long time, you're one of the few people that can understand this issue as especially as quickly as it's been presented to you. So I commend you for that.
oh, I mean, thanks. I don't know, man. I'm just doing my best here. Appreciate you like taking the time to explain it to me.
Right.
Okay,
So
so
basically, when it comes
so
to
like
worldviews, there's no middle
uh huh.
ground, right?
Okay, so okay. Yeah, because it's like I guess you like if it's one, it's either that one or it's some other one, right? Like
Right.
you can't really be both worldviews at the same time, is what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay. So I guess what I'm kind of hung up on then is like, because I mean like I never really considered myself an atheist, but I guess now I see that like according to this way that I'm not referencing God when I think about everything, I'm an atheist. So in order to not be an atheist, is it like whenever I think I want the apple, I have to think like I and then something about God in there, and then apple and something about God in there, and want and something about God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so
Like is that
basically, everyone on the stage, right? All the other people on the stage
uh,
are Christians, right? So we
Yep.
hold that God
right?
exists and that God is ultimate, right? And so whenever we're predicating, we don't say it, of course, explicitly all the time, but in the
Uh-huh,
worldview that we hold to, yes, like whenever we say I see
right.
the apple on the counter, implicit within that, of course, is the metaphysic wherein God exists and he's
Yeah,
ultimate.
Okay,
it comes from God. Yeah,
I get that. Like so,
like
God is
scriptures.
so
Yeah, because
it's more
scripture
like
says
you
it.
guys just like God made everything. So because the apple is part of everything, I just like know that God made this apple, right? Does
Right.
that
Exactly.
follow? Okay, I see. Yeah, I guess by that definition, I now it's like a little more clear to me. Yeah, I'm definitely like not. I don't believe that God necessarily made everything, but but that's I guess kind of where I'm hung up on because I also don't know that God didn't make it, right?
Well, that's what like your worldview would entail that you're denying God, right? Whether or not like somebody wants to admit it or whether or not somebody wants to um, hold to that or make claim to that. The point is that the worldview necessarily entails that, the worldview that the person is holding to. And whatever standard that you're going to use to deny the existence of God as an atheist is going to end up falling back in on itself, right? When they say that they want evidence for the existence of God, well, what's the evidence for the claim, or what's the evidence for the notion that there is no God, right? What's the evidence for the not God worldview within which that person is standing?
So what if like, and I'm just trying to like explain my thought process here. I don't know if God made this thing, but it's possible he made this thing, but like maybe he didn't. I just like, like the, cause I just like, I'm not, I guess I'm having trouble understanding this bit of the whole like being an atheist versus not, because I feel like, if I'm being honest with myself, I really don't know like if God's out there. Like it seems
Yeah,
possible to me, right?
yeah.
Well,
Can I say
there's no
something?
well, let
And
me make this remark
uh,
really quickly. There is
Sure.
no there's no probabilistic reasoning that can be applied to God, like when it comes to like the real state of affairs, right? Like maybe in
Uh
your
huh.
mind, for example, people will say like in your mind you may be open to changing your mind, right? But that's a different thing than saying that in the real world it's a possibility, in the sense that there is some sort of external reality that like God's actuality is contingent upon, wherein if certain parameters are met, that God would
Well,
exist. That wouldn't be
I'm sorry.
coherent
Could you
per se.
back up to the contingency thing? I think I lost
Yes.
the. So what did you
Yeah.
mean about that?
God is not something that is either possibly existent or possibly not existent. God either necessarily
Oh,
exists or necessarily does not exist, right? So the
okay.
only thing you could be meaning by possibility in order to be coherent would be something like,
Uh
in
huh.
my own mind, like there are many things, there are reasons I would change my belief, um from atheism to theism, right? You're open to being
Right.
convinced
Yeah, that is
otherwise.
what I mean. Right.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
cause it. Yeah. So God either exists or doesn't exist. I just don't know which one is the truth. Is what I'm trying to say. Like I don't
Well,
like.
the standard that you're going to apply to your atheism is going to be refuted. Or sorry, the standard you apply to theism is going to be refuted, and it's going to fall in on itself when you try to apply it to your atheism, right? So, for example, I'll give you a quick transcendental reasoning for why God exists, why the Christian God exists.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
the Christian God is ultimate, right? Metaphysically primary, foundational,
Uh
unchanging, and
huh.
absolute, right? Meaning that God is the
Okay.
source and
Wait.
basis of all things. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So God is, so basically like everything just comes from God,
Right,
right?
exactly. So we're
Right.
not existing
Okay.
in
Cool.
a metaphysical void, right? Wherein everything is just
Yeah.
spontaneous without any rhyme or reason, right? Okay,
Right.
so that is necessary, of course, for intelligibility, right? If we just existed within this metaphysical vacuum or void where everything is just chance, right? Where you see in the ancient mythologies where everything emanates from chaos or chance, right?
Uh
There
huh.
is no rhyme or reason fundamentally as to why anything is, right? Which is going to be the
Right.
basis by which we can have rational thought, make necessary truth claims, and so on and so forth. So that's why that's required. Now, God is also a mind, meaning that he's by that we're saying that God is a conscious being. With that is going to come that God is relational and revelatory, meaning that God is communicative to us and he reveals things about himself to us.
Okay.
And the reason why that's necessary is because if that were not the case, we would not have a basis for our epistemology, a basis for us to say that we can apprehend the truth, that we can know things. And the reason for
Okay.
that is because aside from God's revelation, the only thing we're left with is our own self reasoning, our own raw, pure reason, which by
Right.
itself can establish any truth about the world. We can't reason our way out of a paper bag, aside from the revelation and the providence
Right.
of God. Okay, you can't reason that, for
So
example, anything's eternal or that anything is causally related to anything, or and a lot
okay.
of other things. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh no, I just like, I think that's kind of where I'm at though, right? So like, what if I don't know?
What if you don't know what?
about don't know. I'm a little sorry. I'm a little lost for words on that. I just feel
No.
like maybe I feel like it could be possible that like I can't reason, um like I
Okay. Well,
can't rely on anything else to
is that a
prove
coherent
the
statement?
truth of anything.
Is that a coherent statement, what you just said?
Maybe not. I'm not sure. Could you tell me?
Well, you're positing it as though it is a coherent statement, which means that you're refuting it's a refutation of the same claim you just made, right? If people who hold to the position
Huh?
that I can't know anything, I can't
Right.
rationally come to anything, there is no truth. Well, is that true? Did you rationally derive that statement? Did you know that statement? Do you believe that statement?
No.
All of these, all of those kind of things, at the superficial level, if you're not actually
Uh-huh.
examining them, they seem to make sense, but they're actually incoherent when you actually scrutinize them, those
Right.
statements.
So, sorry, I had a little bit like while I'm trying to figure out my thoughts here, I had a bit to think about on the whole like ultimacy thing. I guess is the bit that I'm really that's kind of like lacking for me, like an understanding of like what I think of as ultimate, because that's not really something I thought about until now. And I guess that's more what I was trying to say earlier too. Is like I don't know if I think of anything as ultimate, as
Well, if
in
nothing
like
is ultimate, then you can't rationally and coherently speak about anything because all contingencies are going to derive from that which is metaphysically primary. If there is no
right.
metaphysical reality, that's going to undergird the nature of reality, then you can't coherently speak about reality.
So then what if I just like don't know what's ultimate, right? Could I still tell you based on like my own experience something and have it be true? Or
Well, to invoke your experience is only meaningful within a metaphysical context because you yourself are not metaphysically ultimate, neither are your experiences, right? To say that it is
but
true that you're experiencing something is a metaphysical. To answer that kind of question, what does it mean for it to be true that you're experiencing something? Is a metaphysical
yeah,
question, right?
yeah.
So
But
in order for that to be coherent, you have to invoke a
uh-huh.
metaphysic.
Have to invoke them. But so what if I'm like just kind of operating under the assumption that like maybe my experience isn't true, but it does kind of like sync up to everything else that's happened so far,
Well,
and I
you
just
can't
keep
then
rolling with
coherently.
that.
Yeah, but then I mean, it wouldn't be possible then for you to say that you are experiencing anything and that what you're experiencing lines up in it, because in order for you to say that it lines up with other things, you're actually making a truth claim about your experience or a reliability
Right.
claim about your experience,
That they're like continuous, right? Like
right?
I
And that
haven't
it's
just been
reliable,
tricked like
right?
2 seconds ago into having some memories
Right.
kind of deal. Eh, that's true. But I mean, like, if I'm being honest, like, what if I kind of operate that way?
What if you operate what way?
Just
That you
like
don't have any experiences?
it. Well, no, I might have some experiences. I seem to have experiences. Uh, I'm just like keep going from there, like moment to moment.
Are we having a conversation right now?
I mean, I think we are, right? I mean, like, I'm being completely
So
honest.
you're
Like,
the point is that you
mhm,
make appeals to your knowledge, you make appeals to your memory, you make
mhm,
appeals to your experience every day, right?
yeah,
No, the point is that we exist with the fundamental knowledge of our own rationality, of our own basic sense perception, of our own basic memory capabilities, and
yeah,
to deny them is is against it's absurd. It would be one, absurd to do, and two, it's just incoherent to do, because every invocation of of facts relies on these things in order for them to be intelligible, right?
So
Other than
all
that, they're
that,
illusory.
yeah. So all of that is part of the metaphysical thing, right?
Yeah, those are metaphysical.
Okay.
Well, yeah, identity over time and that kind of stuff is
Yeah,
metaphysical. Yeah,
I see. Okay. Well, I mean, like, I get that. I gotta go pick up dinner before my wife kills me here. Thank you
definitely.
for
Um,
letting me come
Yeah,
up here
yeah,
and chat.
yeah.
I just want to share the, if you're not familiar with the Christian worldview already, it is
Right.
that we live in a fallen world. Of course, there's sin, there's death, there's suffering. We all see it, and that Jesus Christ is the only way for salvation, right? Because we're sinners, we deserve the wrath of God, we deserve the judgment of God, because God is holy and just. And so, what I'm urging you to do before you leave, before you, at least before your heart stops, okay, before you don't have a chance to do so anymore, to repent, to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, because he loves you, he saved you, and he wants to have a relationship with you. So
Yeah.
um, if you have to go now, that's fine, but you're more than welcome to join
Yeah.
back
No.
again when
Yeah.
you want
I'll,
to.
I'll definitely stop by some other time. This is pretty cool. I
Definitely.
appreciate it too. So thanks guys. I'll dip out now. Thank you.
All right, have a good rest of your day. Um, well, that was the only good I would say that was the only, if not one of the only, good productive conversations we've had today. Um, Let's see,
Yeah.
Sarah. Maybe let's see. That's a tough act to follow. But let's see if you can.
Could you
Let's see if you
give
can be
a
rational.
reset for my edification? Like what is where are you at right
Well, we're looking for rational atheists.
now? Well,
So we're looking for
I
people
have
who
my
can defend the
rational
non-existence.
moments. I have my
Okay.
rational moments. So let's go.
All right. So there is no God because.
I don't know if there's no God.
So you're positing like you don't affirm nor deny that God exists. You're suspending judgment.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you were listening to the last person who was on here, but we were essentially establishing that that's not possible, to be
Okay.
coherently and rationally neutral towards God. Because whenever you're invoking facts, oh, hold on a minute. Oh, wow. Look. Does, Theo, do you see who wants to speak? All right. I'll give you a chance. I don't know if I've ever spoken to you in person before, but I'll give you, keep your mic muted until I finish this. Well, you know what? We'll see what Godless has to say. Godless. So there is no God because.
Guys, I actually prefer to debate atheists rather than theists, even though I am an atheist.
Okay. But we're looking for rational atheists,
Okay,
and I
I'm
know
an
we know you're an
atheist. No,
atheist.
like
Okay.
let's hear her out. I'm an atheist. What do you want me to talk about? Godless.
So you think it's more likely than not that no gods exist?
I think that there is no evidence of a God, and therefore I'm not going to waste my time worrying about what
No,
God
no.
wants from
Look,
me.
do you think that it's more likely than not that no gods exist?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. There's going to be order in this room. Okay. Um, this is a Christian room. All right. There are two atheists in the room here who are um in the stage. If you are here to defend atheism, then you're more than welcome to do so. Um, Sarah, I know you want to
I
defend
mean, I'm
atheism.
here. I'm here to
Godless
defend
girl
my
is
rationality. How about that?
I okay. So I want to know from you, Sarah. Well, you said you don't believe either way that there is no God, um, or that there is a God, that there is no God. That's
I
not
don't.
possible
I don't really.
to.
Okay, let me rephrase it. I don't center my life around belief or non-belief. I center it upon knowledge.
Okay, you're not able to coherently be neutral towards the existence of God. Okay, and the reason for that is because whenever you're invoking facts, you're doing so with respect to a metaphysical framework. Okay, meaning that because when you say things are true, right? You say things are possible, you say things are impossible, you say that there is relationships between facts. All of these are metaphysical issues, right? And in order for them to be meaningful, right, when you invoke them, there's going to have to be some reference point, right, for these things, right? So when you say that there are things are true, well, what does it mean for things to be true? That's a metaphysical question. And whatever answer to that question is, right, is either going to be God or is going to constitute not God. Okay, whatever it means for things to be fundamentally correlated, and whatever that the basis of that is either going to be God or not God. If there is no answer to that question, then it's not meaningful for you to invoke them in the first place, right? In the same way that it's not meaningful for me to invoke apples and counters if I don't have a reference point for them in my mind or in reality.
Not
Can I make a
necessarily.
comment?
Go ahead. But I say to what you just said. I said not necessarily.
Okay, I'll explain to you. If you have a rebuttal, then you can. Otherwise, I'll explain to you why it's necessary. But go ahead.
Uh, in my experience, when atheists are trying to take a neutral position or saying, I'm agnostic, I merely lack belief, it's just because they can't defend they're scared to try to defend their position. They're just
Yeah,
it's just being dishonest. That's why I try to pin them with the question, do you think it's more likely than not that no gods exist? Because it's obvious they're being dishonest if they say, no, I think it's equally probable that a God exists and a God doesn't exist. Just roll the dice.
yeah, no, I completely agree that atheists are afraid to defend their position, right? Which is why there's a lot of evasion, there's a lot of obfuscation and clouding of the issue when they're asked very simple questions. But there's an easy way to clear out all the smoke and the mirrors that they try to pull, which is to make clear to them that whenever they're invoking facts, they're doing so with reference to either to God metaphysically, or they're not referencing God metaphysically. But the point is that they are referencing a metaphysical framework if they're actually predicating, and they do predicate, meaning that they're going to either reference God or not God. They're either going to reference a worldview, they're going to hold to a worldview where God exists, or they're going to hold to a worldview that entails that God does not exist. So, Sarah, which of the two
Yes.
worldviews is entailed by yours? The God worldview, the not God worldview?
Okay. You need to rephrase that question.
Okay. Whenever you are speaking, you always implicitly or explicitly invoke a worldview or a metaphysic. Do you understand and accept that, or do you need me to unpack that?
Unpack, please.
Okay. Um, every day you make statements about the world. You say things are true, you say things are false, you say things are possible, you say things are impossible. You say that there's relationships between facts. If you don't know what any of those things mean, like what truth is and what falsity is and what all of the other things I just listed are, is it would you then be meaningfully predicating or meaningfully invoking them? Would that be possible for you to do if you're not actually referencing anything?
I know what truth is.
No, but the point is that if you don't have access to the nature of truth, then could you possibly meaningfully um,
I have
speak
access to
about the
what
world?
is true.
No, no,
It
no.
is
I'm
what
saying
can be
what it
observed
fundamentally. Hold on a minute.
and
I'm saying,
understood.
well, Sarah, hold on a minute.
Truth
I'm
is
asking you,
by definition not mysterious like the will of God.
Sarah,
Truth is observable.
Sarah. Listen, I'm asking you a very specific question. I want to get an answer to that question. Okay. What what I'm asking you right now is if you invoke truth, if you say things are true, if you invoke facts, if you invoke actual states of affairs, but you don't know what it means for things to be true fundamentally, and what it means for states of affairs to be actual, right? Would you then be meaningfully invoking that? Right? If I told you apples exist, apples are on the counter, but I don't know what apples actually refer to, what the nature of apples are. Would I be meaningfully predicating or no?
You're just that was a word salad, sir. I'm sorry. That was a word salad. That didn't
Okay.
mean a damn thing.
I'll ask you. I'll try to put it in even simpler terms. Okay. I'll give this analogy. I'm telling you right now that the apples are on the counter. The apple is on the counter. If you ask me, J. Robin, what does apple mean and what does counter mean and what do all those terms you just used mean? And I tell you, I don't know. Am I speaking meaningfully to you? Do I know what I'm talking about?
Assuming we spoke the same language, I could look at the counter and see whether or not there is an apple there.
No,
But
no, that's not what I
if
asked you.
like wait, just let me finish for God's sakes. If you were speaking German or some other language or Chinese and you had a different word for apple and you asked me that question, it would fall on deaf ears because I don't understand your language. But if we both have the same understanding what apple means, we both have functioning eyes, I can see whether or not there's an apple on the counter.
That's not really an answer to the question I asked you. The question I asked is if I am speaking meaningfully, if I am predicating, right? Predication requires that I am referencing things, right? If I tell you that there's an apple on the counter, that means that the apple has an actual reference point. There's an ontology, there's a referent to apple, the token or the term apple, right? If there is no referent, if apple does not refer to anything when I'm using the term apple, am I speaking meaningfully or no?
I think you're speaking incoherently because you're just throwing words against the wall right now. You're
Exactly.
not making any kind of sense.
Exactly, right? The thing
I would
is,
posit that
when
you are
you
irrational.
right, thank you. Right? And that's the right answer, right? Um, the thing is, when you operate in your world in your day-to-day activities, you invoke things like truth all the time, right? You made a whole bunch of truth claims just in the 5 minutes we've been talking, um, and you do it all. You've done so today, you've done so yesterday, you did so your entire life, right? You make truth claims. You think that things are related to each other, as pretty much everyone else does. You think things are possible. You think things are impossible. But if you don't have access to what those things are, right? In the same way that if I'm invoking apples and I don't
What do
have
you mean
access to what that is,
access? What do you mean access? What
that I'm
that's a
affirming
meaningless term that you're just making up right now.
that I'm actually referring to something, right? There's a reference
What do
point.
you mean by access? Do you mean
I just told you.
physically being able to hold it in your hand and look at it and smell it and
No,
touch it?
I just
The
told
fuck
you.
do you talk about meaning access?
I just told you I'm referencing something. That there's a reference
What do you
point
mean
that I
referencing? What are you referencing?
okay, so like for example, when I tell you apple, when I say I'm referencing something, right? I'm referencing there's an ontology, there's like a thing that exists. I'm referencing the
Okay, I'm going to ask
ontology
you
of
to
something.
keep it simple because I
Okay.
think you're throwing out words that I don't think you even understand.
When I tell you I'm referencing something, that means um I'm like appealing to something that's real, right? So like, or it doesn't even have to, it's just I'm appealing to some either a concept or something that exists, right? And so when I say I'm referencing an apple, that means when I'm predicating about it, I'm actually talking about, I'm saying it is true that there is something that is a fruit that has a certain color, right? That is has these properties, right? Um, that's what I'm saying when I that's what I mean when I'm saying I'm referencing something, right? That I'm actually appealing to something like an ontological thing.
Okay, you can appeal to people. You can't appeal to things. Like I
Yeah,
think
you can.
your knowledge of vocabulary is really what needs to be examined here because the way you're using words is just not right.
Okay, listen. I don't know if it just doesn't seem like you're understanding it, right? You're trying to put it on me as though I'm not understanding what I'm telling you, and I clearly do, right? And you don't have to do that. If you need explanation, if you need me to explain something deeper, I'm more than happy to do that. But you don't have to. I mean, like it's not necessary what you're doing right now. Okay, that's
I
childish.
feel like you don't have a strong grasp and that maybe you need to punt it to one of your comrades because I feel like you're throwing
Listen,
words
You
out
have to
there.
listen.
say why.
If you
You have to
tell
say why what he's saying is wrong. You're just making these accusations without saying why.
this isn't like a complicated thing, right? If you know what it means for something to be a referent, like in a proposition, that there's like an ontological state of affairs that is actually being like invoked. There's a state of affairs that's being invoked when I'm actually like I'm actually like invoking something. So when I say apple, there is something that I'm actually thinking about and that I'm communicating to you and that I'm tokenizing as apple, right? Like this shouldn't even be complicated.
Ontology is about the state of being, about the knowledge
Correct.
of the knowledge. But you are not
No, no, no,
saying
no, 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 no,
anything.
no, no,
You are
no,
not
no. Hold on a
saying,
minute.
you are
No,
not
that's
saying
not. No,
the
stop,
nature
stop,
of whether or not you
stop. You
know
just made a,
something.
you made a true statement, and then you made a false statement. Ontology is not about the knowledge of knowledge. Ontology is the study of being. Yeah, the state of being, the study of being. That's what that is, right?
Okay,
Um,
yes,
it's
I
not about
brought
your
in
knowledge.
epistemology. Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
we are having,
So
but
look, Let me
okay,
just
well,
explain
the
this to you.
thing
Let
that
me
you were
help you out
talking about
because
earlier
you just
about,
confused two completely different things. Okay. Let me help you out. Okay. Because you obviously you don't seem to understand, and that's fine. I'm willing to explain it to you.
I understand
Okay.
a lot of things. I don't understand
All
you
right.
because you don't make
So
sense.
listen. All right. I'm about to kick you off the stage. All right. If I'm not actually referring to something when I'm predicating, then I'm not actually predicating, right? Because a predication requires that there is a referent, right? That there is a subject and a predicate, right? A subject, you means you're actually referring to something. That's what it means to be a sub. A state of affairs that I'm at, or an object that I'm actually referencing, right? That I'm actually making an appeal to, that I'm actually invoking. It's meaningful, so that it can actually be talked about in a sentence, in a statement. That would be the predication, or that would be the proposition, right? If that's not the case, if it's not the case that there is a referent, then it's not a proposition. I'm not speaking meaningfully. As you said earlier, when it came to the apple and the counter example that I was telling you, I would be speaking nonsense if I didn't know what I was talking about, if I didn't actually reference anything with the apple. Did you understand what I'm telling you? Do you understand what I'm telling you?
I'm waiting for you to make a point here.
Well, I made the point earlier, which is that if you're invoking a metaphysic, right, you're doing the same thing because you invoke truth, you invoke reality, you invoke things in reality, you invoke possibilities and impossibilities and relationships between facts, and that's only meaningful if there's a metaphysical or ontological reference point to them. Right? Otherwise, it's not meaningful predication about the state of affairs.
Okay, and continue.
Okay, so then what we're talking about, let's make sure we're clear what we're talking about. We're talking about whether or not you can be agnostic. Okay, so if you're actually invoking a metaphysic, okay, that means metaphysics are propositional, meaning that they're going to be beholden to the laws of logic. The metaphysic that you invoke will either be the God metaphysic, where God exists and he's the basis for all truth, or it will be the not God metaphysic, okay, where God does not exist, whatever entails that. So there's not going to be a middle ground that's possible here. So you either affirm God implicitly or explicitly, or you deny God explicitly or explicitly.
That is a false dichotomy.
Okay, so I want you to give me a proposition that's relevant to the nature of reality that would neither entail that God exists or entail that God does not exist.
I don't have to do shit. You're the one who has to prove.
You told me it's a
When
false
you claim,
dichotomy. You
but
told
when
me
you
it's a
claim
false
something,
dichotomy.
when you claim something's a false dichotomy, you have to say why. You have to give the third option.
I don't have to. I don't have like he's essentially
Sarah,
asking me to reaffirm
listen.
the false thing that he just said, and
You
I'm
just
saying
no, no,
that's not
listen.
true.
If it's a false
I'm not gonna feed
dichotomy,
into your false dichotomy.
Sarah, if it's a false dichotomy, that means there are more than two options, right? Or they're not exclusively two options. I'll say it like that. That's what it means to be a false dichotomy. Now, I presented you with the fact that it's a proposition, and that it actually is beholden to the law of logic, where it's the law of excluded middle, right? A or not A. So I want you to tell me, because you claim that I'm presenting a false dichotomy, I want you to tell me the third option, right? That is relevant to the notion or the idea of what it means to be fundamental, or the like your metaphysical reality, that would neither entail that God exists or that God does not exist if it's a false dichotomy. Are you able to do that, Sarah?
I don't understand how you don't understand.
Sarah, you have now 30 seconds before I kick you off the stage, because right now you're just
I mean,
making
go
empty
ahead,
claims. You're
kick
not
me
willing
off
to
the
defend it.
stage.
All
You
right.
still haven't made.
Be my guest. Be my guest. I'm not gonna hesitate, right? You don't need to be on the stage at all. Okay, godless girl. So, you're an atheist, correct?
Yeah, but let's just be let's join it. Let's be a team, J. Robin. Let's expose these. I hate my fellow atheists. They're so irrational. They don't know how to defend their position. Let's team up. Let's be a team.
I don't know about all of that. If I mean, you think you're rational?
Wait. Let's
Is that what you?
not. Oh, it's
I bet
good
I
I
though.
can do
mean,
a better job exposing these atheists than you can too. She said a lot of dumb shit that you passed over. She said
well, yeah,
she
because
said
a lot of
truth
times,
by definition is mysterious. What the fuck?
yeah, I mean, people say a lot of things that I mean, because there are so much things that people say that I have to a lot of times focus on just the main issue that's being talked about, and I can't because otherwise, if I talk about everything, then this gets ends up getting get diverted to a bunch of other topics. So, uh, that's why I mean, I don't always talk about every single thing the person says, but yeah, there are many things that she said that were nonsensical. Um, let me see something here. Okay. I'm back. So, are you here to defend your atheism or no, godless? Just so I can know from right now.
I would prefer not to, but if you force me to, I will.
Well, I'm here to look for rational atheists. So if you're an atheist and you're on the stage, that's if you don't want to, you don't. You can of course step down, but
Yeah,
if
I
you're on
think
the
it's better
stage,
to do
that's what
that.
the requirement is. Yeah, I won't force you to defend your atheism if you don't want to, though. But um, but thanks for
Man, that
if
Sarah
you if
guy,
you're
that
interested in doing
Sarah,
that,
man, that
what do you say?
Sarah woman, she just didn't want to have a conversation or just want to defend her position. Oh, I don't have to. Yeah, it's just a what do you call those? It's just a it's just a waste of time because it's just not a meaningful conversation or something. It's just I don't have to defend my position. All this stuff. Yeah, just allow mouth. Just yeah. Sorry.
By the way, Tom, like if you're not, I know that you've raised your hand a couple times. Is there like a glitch on your thing? Because I know like sometimes
I want to
it'll say
say
like you
something.
can't
It's
join.
like it's good. How do I say it? Being nice. Um, it's good to expose atheists. Yet all atheists they need to repent. So even all atheists, like all this girl, all of them need to repent. It doesn't matter if you try and help like
Oh,
expose
look at this.
expose atheists,
Right.
because they're all gonna end up in the same boat, basically. You know. So just try and be
Why
nice
don't
about
you
it.
why don't you try to join again, Tonlock? Because yeah, I don't know if maybe Godless Girl had you blocked or something when she was on, or somebody else. So I just sent you another invite. They can see if you can join again.
Sometimes I don't
It's
want
saying
to
that it's
have to
giving him
say
error messages.
like sometimes like Jay Robin is like you know God commanded us to tell unbelievers, it doesn't matter any unbeliever to repent. So it's good you like it's how I say atheists expose. Okay, atheists, that's good. Yet all of the atheists, they're in trouble because they're rebelling against God. So it's it's tough. It's yeah, try to be nice about it. But yeah, you know what I'm saying, Jay Robin?
No, yeah, I understand. I understand entirely. It's just, when you're dealing with atheists, you have to it's just like an understanding of how a lot of them operate, and
Yeah,
that they're not, for the most part, they're not going to be forthright entirely with you and forthcoming with you. So you have to navigate that accordingly.
Yeah, because we're
Um,
on God's side. Basically,
you know,
how do I say it? Like, it's either you are for Christ or not. There's no like middle ground. It's all for Christ or not. Even though quote unbelievers try to expose unbelievers, it's it's kind of it's kind of laughable in a way because it's like you expose unbelievers, like unbelievers expose unbelievers, yet they're both gonna end up in the same place if they don't repent and turn to God. You know what I'm saying, Jay?
yeah,
So it's not
I
gonna do you any
yeah,
good if you
exactly.
so. And it's not gonna do us any good if you say, "Oh, you're on our side on this." No, you'd have to be on God's side or not. That's it. Not my side or Jay Robbins or Theo's side, because
Exactly. That's
we
why,
all be.
I wasn't gonna, just yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, sure, you can help expose atheists, but I mean, I mean,
yeah,
you
I know what you.
so yeah. I mean, yeah. But Tana, it looks like it's still giving you an error. Um, we could probably restart the room. It doesn't look like anyone else is coming up right now, so we could probably just restart the room.
Yeah. Now I understand. Yeah, there's no neutrality. It's a myth when it comes to God. It's and Greg Bonson talks about this and pushing the antithesis. You may say, uh, you may conceptualize it, and it does. Yeah, yeah.